Last week, a pretty well-known music reviewer put out an, let's say, unsavory review of Isaiah Rashad's The House is Burning, to which a lot of people, including myself, had some thoughts and opinions about. Welcome to the Bar for Bar podcast, and this week we're talking about critiquing critics. So this review was from Fantano. Everyone who knows who Fantano is, and he is pretty polarizing, I'd say, in terms of people's opinions of him. Some people really like him, some people really dislike him. Personally, I kind of fall into the idea of I go to Fantano's reviews to get another person's thoughts and opinions on a piece of work that I've already formed my opinion on. And realistically, that's what reviews are. It's just someone else's opinion, and you have to keep that in mind. Not everyone's opinions are yours. Then people don't have to share the same opinion. That's not how the world works. But that. With that said, I don't always agree with his reviews either. But the purpose of it for me is to, like I said, get another perspective. And, since he is so well known and it's so easy to access his reviews, why not? Now, with this review of The House is Burning, he gave it a 5, which it's not great, but it's not terrible. And, he is also the type of person, if he just straight up does not like an album, he'll make it known. He'll say, not good. And that wasn't the case here, clearly. He would give it a 0 if he really did not like it. However, in his actual review, at least what a lot of people are thinking, and myself included, he might have missed the point a little bit on what was trying to be accomplished with the album. And it made it sound like he really disliked the album. And if you did, sure, but I think just the way that it was, portrayed was so negative that everyone kind of jumped on it. And that's fine. That's fair. And as people, as with artists and creators in general, we want people to like what we do. So we want people to, validate our thoughts and opinions, which is also kind of why we go to reviewers, I guess. But, everyone who really liked The House is Burning checked out Fantano's review, and they were like, oh, what's wrong with you? That sort of feeling. Personally, I saw the review, I'm like, I don't agree, and just kind of kept it pushing, because that's kind of his opinion. However, as conversations arose surrounding this review, I really got to thinking. And the main thing that really, made me think about it was something that Punch said. I'm paraphrasing what his tweet was, but he was, responding to Fantano and just asking him a question. He's like, so how do you go about preparing to review an album about a black experience or black music or rap music in general? And, that's a very valid question. Because obviously he is, as far as we can tell, a white man. And that's something that I have in the back of my mind as well when I do my reviews, because clearly I am not a black man. I am a brown Indian boy. But I think circumstances are a little bit different in that sense, that where Fantano and I came from. But that's something that you have to keep in mind as a reviewer. You didn't necessarily experience the same experiences that this artist has gone through. Now, that shouldn't really hold you back from being able to voice your opinion, whether you liked it or not. But as a reviewer, and as a reviewer who has a lot of people following him, in my mind, it's very important to do your best to understand what the artist is trying to accomplish with that project. Now, for me, the reason my review hasn't come out yet is because I'm still piecing together what Isaiah Rashad was trying to do with this project. Like, I get general ideas, but I'm also changing my review style from going from track to track to just kind of doing a more big picture sort of thing, because it's a little bit more entertaining, but it's also, for my writing, like, I feel more creative about it, because it's so easy for me to just go track. And you got to do that a little bit anyway, but that's besides the point. It's, to me, very important to try to understand what the artist is trying to say. Like, especially if it's an artist that you may not know very well or understand, or if they're talking about things that don't really relate to you. Now, with me personally, like, I can relate to a lot of rap music just because of where I've been and just my surroundings. But I also have to remind myself that I didn't go through everything that they did. Like, I have to put myself kind of in their shoes when I make my reviews. And that's something that I feel might have gotten lost with Fantano's review. Now, I'm not trying to really say that he's at fault or he made a mistake, or that everyone else is kind of overreacting, or that he's fine. Like, I'm not really trying to put myself on any sort of side here. I'm just trying to voice my opinion on it. Like, the biggest thing really is that as a reviewer, you have to, like, yes, your reviews are your opinions, but you also have to keep in mind what was the end goal with this album. Speaking about music reviews, if it's not clear at this point, also, like, how did you get here if you're not into music reviews? Anyways, like, with music reviews, and I guess it can extend to other reviews as well, but with music reviews, yeah, music is kind of hit or miss for everyone. Not everyone likes the same thing. But if you are in a position like Fantano, who has a lot of followers, a lot of people subscribe to him, it's almost like you're obligated to put in that extra effort to be like, okay, I'm going to review this album. Let me try to process that. Again, not trying to say that he didn't do that or he did do that, just speaking in general here. So that's the biggest thing for me. Like, if you aren't able to put yourself in the artist's shoes and really, know what they're trying to say, it makes it hard for, I guess, well, one, it makes it hard for you to review it and do a review that's anything other than strictly your opinion. Because with reviews too, you have to be like, yes, this is my opinion, but also I understand where this person's coming from. And I've said that a bunch of times in my reviews. Like, there's songs on albums that I just do not care for, but I understand what they're doing, and I understand that people like that. Like, that is huge. Like, being understanding about that. And I'm sure he knows that too, but because of the way that YouTube is set up, you got to condense your videos. You got to make sure it's all, quick and to the point. Unfortunately. So, a lot of that does get lost. But, it's something that you may need to acknowledge every once in a while. But it is very tricky as well. I will say that from my standpoint. Because, I have done a review where I just did not like the album, but I also was very clear, like, I kind of understand where they're going with it. Anyways, this whole thing, I feel, got bigger than it than it could, or it got bigger than expected. Let's say that, because it changed from a narrative about reviews specifically to, I guess, like understanding the black experience and white people trying to understand that or not getting it. And a bunch of people have chimed in, so you can go in and check that out. I think that it might have gone a little bit off course, personally. Like, yes, that talking about the black experience is absolutely necessary. But I think the main reason that everyone kind of jumped on it at first was just because it wasn't a good review. In the sense that it wasn't high scoring and it was a very negative tone. So, that's fair. Like, definitely jump on it for that. And then, try to process it. But, it just kind of felt like this is a conversation we need to have, but is this the reason we need to have it? Like, is this really the catalyst to have this conversation? I suppose, sure. Like, I try to be understanding of both sides as much as possible. So for me, like, when I saw all this happening, I'm like, that's all right. That's weird, but let's see where this goes. And now I'm starting to like really, like, I've been reading stuff in the morning too about it. So, it's interesting. And I wouldn't go as far as some people who are saying like this is kind of like inherent racism, like because white people don't understand the black experience, and that's fair. White people don't understand the black experience, at least a good amount of them. Like, that's pretty likely. Like, I'm not really going to say otherwise. Like, I agree. Like, white people have the privilege of not having to go through a lot of this. Or not all white people. I'm just saying, like, generalizations. You know what I mean? So, it is very interesting to think about. I wouldn't, like I said, go as far as saying it's just straight up racism. It's just more, I guess, ignorance. That's probably a better way to put it. And for me, like, you're just kind of ignorant to the fact that people have to go through these things, and because it's written from, like, because it is a black person writing this album, it's, going to talk about the things that they've gone through. You won't always connect with that. But that kind of goes back to the whole trying to understand. Like, it is important to make an effort to understand, especially if you are a reviewer. And I think I just keep looping back to that. Like, that is the biggest takeaway for me. And that's the biggest point that I'm trying to make. Like, it is very important to understand. But also, that's just my way of thinking. Like I just mentioned, like, I try to see everyone's perspective. Like, I want to understand where people are coming from. Like, it's with this album, let's keep going into that. Sorry. With this album, like, you have a lot of stuff that Isaiah Rashad has gone through. And these aren't things that everyone can relate to. Like, I can guarantee it. Not everyone can relate to everything he's saying, because his experience is specific to him. There are a lot of, I guess, general things that people can relate to, like big picture ideas. But even then, not everyone will relate to it. It's just, I don't know. I'm really just interested to see, like, if, for example, Fantano said everything that he said and gave it a better review, will we be having this conversation? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I would like to think that we would have this conversation at some point, but it probably wouldn't be about this album. But it's it just also comes back to like not everything clicks for everyone, and that's fair. Like you have to understand that like it's not everything is for everyone, and that's how reviews go too. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic, and I wish I had someone on to talk about it with, because my perspective is like try to be like I guess as in depth as possible while keeping it concise. Like if you watch my reviews, I try. There are definitely reviews where I hone it in, and you can tell, or at least I hope you could. But you know, it's just you have, like if you're talking about someone's creation, like that's something that they put a lot of work into, and they clearly want validation. I mean, that's something that we as human beings always want, as much as we try to say, nah, it's whatever. Like, deep down, we all kind of feel that. Like, we want to be, we seek approval. So, that's why it's, like, you have to, well, you don't have to, I guess, but it's important to me to look at things at a more personal level for these sorts of things. Because, again, art is subjective, but understanding it is different. Like, let's say, for example, you're at a museum and you see a painting, and it's just like, let's say it's just like a stick figure. And most people be like, why is this here? Why is the stick figure here? And then they'll just kind of keep it pushing. But then you have other people who will kind of take it and form their thoughts and like try to process it, like why, like, and then go and look up the artist and try to understand their perspective, because they did this because, I'm pulling this out of my ass, like this is a way of them expressing their childhood innocence when they can make these beautiful paintings and everything, but it all kind of simplifies into a stick figure. Like, again, like I don't know what I'm saying with this. Like I'm just trying to make it make an example of it. So there's just so much like you could do, like as a person taking in the art, and you don't have to do anything, but I feel like if you're going to critique something, you have to try to understand it. That's what it all comes back to. Now, that's enough of that, specifically. I did mention at the top how I don't like doing ratings for anything. And I think I've talked about this in the past too, but it comes up every so often because, well, at least in my mind, it comes up because I see a lot of reviews come out like from Pitchfork and Fantano and just other places that do numbered ratings. And on, if I'm on Reddit a lot, so and then in the comment section, people are like, oh man, they gave it a 4. And it's like, let's say it's an album that they all generally enjoy. To me, I'm like, how many of y'all actually listened to the review or read the review? And how many of y'all just skipped to the end where the rating is? Like, that's fine if you don't care and you just want to know in general what people are thinking about it. But it's also really important to not do that if you're actually interested. At least for me. Like, and every reviewer is different too. Like, everyone has a different reviewing style. Everyone likes different things, which also kind of goes back to if you're a reviewer at that level, you might want to have, it's ideal to have some sort of understanding where this artist is coming from. And I'm not gonna lie, there are reviewers out there that do a really good job of it. I'm just bad at knowing who they are, like names and stuff. But like they'll be like upfront about it, like, yeah, this didn't click for me, but what they were trying to do was accomplished, and they did it in a manner that was good, or they didn't accomplish this and it was still just overall decent music, like stuff like that. But that is what you, as the consumer, the people who are critiquing critics, you have to actually, form your own opinions, and don't just skip to the end, because as easy as that is and as quick as that is, it's kind of just simplifying things and like condensing everything again to a number. Like the reason that the number is there obviously is just so people can click on it and be like, there it is, that's the number that you have. But also it's like they put it at the very end, so you'll go through, read it or listen to it, and then they'll be like, well, this is what I landed on. Like, it's kind of like an essay in school. You start off and then like by the end these are your closing thoughts and this is your conclusion. I guess review writing is a little bit different than that, but it's a little bit more nuanced. But like as a consumer, you have to keep that in mind. Like, you can have someone, like, there's so many times, like, I don't remember any particular albums now because it's just off the top of my head, but I've read Pitchfork reviews where the review itself was very, very good. Like, they were very positive and they made the album sound like it was going to be amazing. And then you get to the end and it's like a 7, which, I mean, okay, a 7's fine. I mean, I meant probably something lower, like a 4 or a 5. Like, and you're just like, how did that happen? Like, that's why I'm like, ratings are kind of irrelevant. It's like everyone has a different scale. Like, someone's 5 could be like a 9 to most people, and then someone's 9 is like a 4. Like, I feel like a lot of people, or at least in a lot of reviews at this point, it, like, even outside of music, like, most things are good. So most things, they're gonna get like a 7 and up. 7 up. Like, they're gonna get a 7 and up. Like, with video games, for example, like, very rarely do you have a bad video game. Like, there's gonna be hiccups here and there, but in general, it's gonna be pretty solid. Like, if you look at not any, but a lot of like AAA releases, the lowest end you're gonna see like a 70 on Metacritic. Like, it's very rare that it's like just awful. You know what I mean? Like, so there's that. Like, we're in the place where most things are fine. Like, we very rarely just shit on things. But it's also like you have to also understand that everyone's scale is different, is the main thing. Like, people who, like, so, sorry, I lost my thought and then came back. So the whole point of me saying, like, everything is getting like 7s and up, like, we have like a baseline, like, this is good, and which is, well, for most people, a 7. And then you have an album that's much better, and you're like, it's an 8. I feel like it's less of like a strict scale and more just like, yeah, that feels right. And that's also why I'm just like, I don't like giving numbers. It's like, someone's gonna have some sort of thought on that. So anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. Yeah, let me know what y'all thoughts on this Fantano thing is, even though I'm not going to respond to any comments. I haven't been. Sorry, I guess. I just don't feel like it. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll more likely respond there. But yeah, like, let me know what y'all thoughts are on this whole Fantano thing. Personally, I feel like he might have misstepped here, but that kind of comes with it. Like it happens. Also, it's like the thing that I want y'all to take away from this whole 30-minute talk, I guess, is that it's important to try to understand people. Like, not specifically just the reviewer. Like, understand the reviewer, of course, because every reviewer is different. Like, everyone has their preferences. But for reviewers, it's important to try to understand the artist. And I feel like if you're not doing that, you're doing them a disservice. At least that's how I feel, because that's what I try to do when I review things. Also, I don't do ratings because I don't like it. But yeah, that's all where I'm going to leave it at. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this whole Fantano thing and if I made some sense. I know I kind of like rambled, and I wish I had someone here to talk about it with, because it would have made for a much more interesting conversation, but it is what it is. Also, like, subscribe, all the regular YouTube stuff. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.